Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Lamont here again. We should have all known better than to trust an internet service provider's estimate of their service recovery. So, Dan's still without internet. I think he ordered Starlink, so that should be coming soon. I think Lori's back midweek, so we shall see how things go. I leave tomorrow evening, so um, tomorrow should be the last time you see of me for a while. I just got to fly out to Portugal. But either way, let's get into the rundown here. I hate that they've brought these buttons back. All right, so for the SPY, the balance continues, right? There's still just literally no change in this consolidation as long as we're holding under the all-time high, 574.71, but over the prior all-time high, 565.16. So as I was talking about in the weekend video, this is all still just sideways, despite the strong close, despite the rally, despite breaking out of the 4-hour range or hourly range, however you want to look at it. This was all still daily balance. And this daily balance is still constructive as long as we're holding over 565.16. And I would still, consider the consolidation constructive as long as we're holding over this 819 to 830 structure. You can see how that guy is what made the low of the day for these two sessions over here. And then that's pretty much it, right? So the way that I see it is, as long as you're holding over backtest of this guy, which was the problematic supply throughout all of this, then these buyers are still doing okay. So if lower lows under 565.16, eyes on the value area high, 562.02, and then the point of control at 560.79. And we're pretty much just looking for weekly retracement, more weekly retracement, I should say, at that point, which would still be very healthy if we can hold over this prior area over here. We're not even at 328 really right now. Yeah, so we've broken the 236 and haven't even really come close to the 382. The 382 is pretty much smack dab on this 819 to 830 point of control. So looking at a 382 retracement from the low of the move to the high of this move would, again, just be pretty much smack dab right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if the sellers were to have a go at that level if we see lower lows. We shall see. Moving on to the Qs here. Again, the balancing just continues, right? There's really nothing going on, nothing really new to report. So on Friday, again, we had that very strong rally off of the developing point of control hold, and we couldn't hold above it. Today's high of day was pretty much right off of the developing value area high. And then it is notable that the sellers failed to come down and touch down on the developing value area low. It's a notable failure for them to get to their next objective, right? So for the sellers, in order for them to start moving value lower relative to this local range, they have to find acceptance under the D-val. The D-val is at 480 and 38, let's call it. So despite the fact that they broke under the depot today, again, they're not advancing unless they get under the D-val. So, some relative weakness in that regard in the SPY because they did happen to break down under the D-val. So that's pretty much it. I would say this balance is still very healthy as long as they can hold over this 815 to 830 structure. These arrows that I have marked up is just from one of our streams from, our community streams today. And it's just pointing out that this is really the key structure right now. On the weekly time frame, this is a meaningful amount of sideways. This guy is sitting on top of this much larger sideways. All three of these probes into this structure was really just backtest, right, of this much larger weekly demand. And so if we're going to see volatility heading into the election, I would not be surprised if we were to come back down and retest this 222 to 412 structure again. Again, that's just this guy over here, because on the weekly time frame, that's a whole bunch of sideways, right? You have a whole bunch of demand created over here, probe into it. So far, holding over backtest of it is constructive, and that's pretty much it. So bigger picture, as long as you're holding over this 449.34 level, that's constructive, bigger picture. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Daily lower high has been set at 487.88 in the QQQ, space for a higher low over 477.40. But what I really care about, as you know, is this guy and this guy. Okay, so lower lows, eyes on the value area high 478.80 and then point of control 474.40. If higher highs, eyes on 490.73 and 496.29 as the next two key levels for the buyers. Moving on to IWM. So IWM, I think this is pretty notable. Rather, we should switch to this chart. IWM, pretty notable. A couple of drop-in pops under this 216.27 level. This 216.27 level is just the low of this guy over here. This is the local supply that these buyers are trying to flip into demand. On a bigger picture, we're watching 217.38, which is the point of control of this fellow over here. As long as we are holding over the point of control of this guy, then this guy is being affirmed as demand. Affirming this structure as demand keeps buyers positioned well for a go at new all-time highs. This structure has already been affirmed as meaningful many times in the past. Over here, it made for that major high. Over here, it made for that major high. Okay, so I'm just continuing to watch this structure, and as long as we're holding over 217.38, that's the best case scenario. So to see a dip under that level throughout multiple sessions, so 4 sessions pretty much, seeing a dip under 217.38 with very little acceptance under it, is notable, right? That's good, solid defense from these buyers, but they have to get back over 222.28 in order to have the most confidence in affirming this structure. Again, that's this guy, the structure of old as demand. I mean, technically, you have to hold over the high of it to have the most confidence, but holding over the value area high of it means that buyers are moving value higher relative to the old structure. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Daily lower high has been set as well, 219.98. You know, not that much space for a higher low over 215.08, but that higher low will be confirmed at 215.87 tomorrow if these buyers can break over 218.60, rather 218.66. Yes. All right, so that's pretty much it. Moving on to Bitcoin. Oops. So for Bitcoin, recall we were watching this key point of control, 61003.36. That's just the point of control of this prior all-time high structure over here. Its value area high is at 64489.08. So after these buyers negated the change from this breakdown, but held this point of control by preventing a test of the value area low of the structure, once you get back over the point of control, we know their next objective becomes the value area high. So as of right now, backing off pretty much right from the value area high to the tick is a notable failure for these buyers right now, unable to move value higher relative to that prior all-time high structure, and I should say space for a daily lower high under 66550, if assuming a close right here and then a break of 62620.91, that will confirm that daily lower high being set, but there's space for a higher low over 59824.87. So we just have to continue to monitor this structure as our key references. The best case scenario for these buyers for now is to just continue to hold over 62380.55. That's this prior breakdown point. Holding over this guy means they're still chipping away at all of the supply that's in the way. And if they can continue to chip away at the supply over 62380.55, then these buyers will continue to be positioned well for a go at this all-time high structure, this new all-time high structure over here, which clearly was problematic here, problematic here, problematic here, problematic here. And that's really it. So if acceptance over 64489.08, eyes on the prior all-time high, 69,000, which is just, again, that's the high of this structure. And then if over that, then it's back to eyeing to this all-time high structure over here with the value area low at 71094.94 and then point of control at 72082.40. Moving on to gold. So gold, again, no change really for gold, right? So on the daily time frame, we're still watching this guy primarily because this guy is kind of sitting on top of all of this, So if not through here, then you don't come back into all of this demand. And on the lower time frames, we're watching primarily this phone. So this guy we've been watching for, at least a week now, and it held over here, dipped into the value area low, hold over here, point of control, hold over here, and then pretty much 4-hour lows set right off of the value area high of this structure. So, you just have to call it for what it is. Technically, you have to give the buyers a very slight edge here because the buyers have gotten priced back over the point of control of this supply over here and over here and over here. Right. I mean, I guess it's pretty even, right, actually, because you have a bunch of piercings over here as well. So pretty much even Steven here, a battle between this supply and this demand. I would say if you're a longer time frame operator, you play on the daily time frame and above, you'd probably want to be waiting for extension into this location. If you're a more active intraday time, low time frame operator, you're making plays off of this guy and plays off of this guy. That's pretty much it. Although I prefer buys because gold still continues to be pretty much flirting with new all-time highs, consolidating very healthily. So if I had to pick a direction, I would still pick, buys, but I would want to see lower time frame extension. That's like 5 to 15-minute extension if playing off of this guy. And I would prefer to see like 4-hour hourly extension if playing off of this guy. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Moving on to oil. So oil, more follow through now into this clear area of local supply. So remember, we're looking at this key supply and this key demand zone over here. As long as we're holding over here, like over here and over here, and these buyers should be trying to come to test this supply as they did over here, and that's pretty much it. As long as we're holding under this supply, sellers should be trying to get down to this demand. So we'll notice, of course, that this demand zone has held, that key demand zone, I should say, this guy has held. And then on the way up is this local demand zone, right? It was prior demand, then was acting as supply when we're over here, rejecting from the point of control of the structure. And now this is a good amount of follow through over that point of control at 71.63, such that we can be looking for higher low plays over here, looking for this demand zone to hold. If this demand zone holds, that would increase the potential. The buyers are trying to get back to this key supply. On the way up to that key supply is going to be this guy and this guy. Okay? Or actually, rather, this fella, and then this fella. Okay? So that's pretty much it. Very reasonable trade zone, I would say. Looking for a pullback play, looking for a higher low with anything over 66.33 going to be good for one. And these sellers don't negate the change of this breakout without acceptance back under 72.4 0. Moving on to NatCast. So NatCast pop and drop over this value area high, now back to the point of control of this key supply over here. I still think this is a very reasonable location for trade. You want to see extension, ideally all the way up to the daily time frame, to backtest this area of demand, because obviously if you hold over this area of demand, then you don't come into this much larger demand. If you don't come into this much larger demand, then you should expect price action similar to this. Okay, so that is, which is just similar to this area of supply over here. All right, so that's pretty much it. Daily higher high, no follow through, showing to a lower low. Next settlement objective should be 2.564, and then after that, 2.436. And then finally, the dollar. So dollar, if you use this trade zone at this point in time, you really should be out some partials here, no later than the daily no change level, 101.965, as we've been discussing in many prior streams, or not streams, but recaps and streams, I guess, technically, if you've been watching the streams as part of our community. Either way, this was our key demand zone, right? Again, the market will tell you when there's a key area, right? This is our key demand, this is our key supply. Why? Because supply was affirmed here, was affirmed here, was affirmed here. Why this guy? It was affirmed here, affirmed here, affirmed here, affirmed here. So we're just doing what works until it doesn't. That's, kind of a big part of technical sequencing. You're just looking for the areas of change, and you're trying to base your trades around, where there is the potential for change. Not because we know that change will remain, but because that is where it's cheapest to figure out whether or not that change will continue to be affirmed. Okay, so it's not that we know that it'll hold. We didn't know that the dollar would continue to hold this demand zone. What we did know is that this is a very reasonable location for these buyers to try to hold, as they have held in the past multiple times. Okay, so anyway, space for a daily higher low now. Anything over 99.865 is going to be good for one. Best case scenario for these buyers is to hold over 101.965. Next best case is to hold over this breakout point, 101.855. And as long as you're holding over the breakout point, then this area is being affirmed as demand. As long as you're holding over this area as demand, then these sellers should be trying to make their way back up to this area. Okay, so that is it. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for sharing some of your time and energy with me. Hope you enjoy the rest of your session, and I hope to see y'all soon. Farewell.